You have the floor.
And thank you. Hello to everyone. Just give me a short moment until I share my presentation with you, and shortly we will begin. So if someone doesn't see the presentation, please let me know. Until nobody says so, I count with everybody sees what's supposed to. And thank you, Diana, for the introduction. Dear ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you to our CyberArk webinar. We, as the Soitron group, are providing CyberArk PAM solution to our clients around the world for quite a long time. During this time, we were able to become CyberArk partners in a few countries and successfully deliver a nice amount of projects. Throughout the presentation, I will introduce you to the main goals that CyberArk can help you to achieve, guide you through its main features, tell you something about its architecture, and then we will have a closer look at the live demo, and we will finish with Q&A. So please, if there will be some questions that come up to your mind during the presentation, save them for the end to get your answers. At first, I would like to tell you why we as Soitron Group have chosen to go with CyberArk. CyberArk, as you can see, is the leader of the Gartner's Magic Quadrant for many years now. We have started to work with CyberArk around the year 2015, maybe 16, and by the time, CyberArk was a unchallenged leader of the PAM solutions worldwide. Now you are looking at the Gartner's Magic Quadrant from year 2018. That's the reason is I couldn't find no older, but as you can see, CyberArk is on top. Now we have switched to the Gartner's Magic Quadrant from year 2022. It's 4 years later, and CyberArk is still considered #1 as leader of the PAM cybersecurity segment. We in the Soitron group like to work with the best because we are also trying to be the best in delivery of solutions to our customers. These work both ways because we know we can count with CyberArk as very skilled vendor and software developers, and we have very nice experience with them. And also they know we are skilled implementers of their PAM solutions, and that's the reason why we became partners with CyberArk already at least in 2 countries where we as a Soitron group offer our services. We also like CyberArk Blueprint because it's quite simple, yet it's a very prescriptive program designed to help organizations to mitigate risks in 3 most prevalent cases, which we refer as our 3 guiding principles. These 3 are prevent credential theft, stop lateral and vertical movement, and limit privilege escalation and abuse. The first one, credential theft, the idea here is to prevent theft of critical credentials such as IaaS admins, maybe domain admins, root accounts, or your API keys, which can be found all over your IT environment. We achieve this via session isolation, hard-coded credential removal, and theft detection and blocking for humans and applications. The live demo will demonstrate these features very closely. So now I'm going to be talking just about the very basic points of these features. The lateral and vertical movement. Here we look to stop the pivoting from non-trusted devices to high-value cloud console or maybe domain controllers or any other valuable assets in your environment. Through enforcement of credential boundaries, persistent access, and credential randomization. This principle helps answer the questions, how can you stop an adversary from pivoting from non-trusted environment to a high-risk environment, how to stop them from moving maybe from my on-premise environment to cloud and stuff like this. So in reality, it will really help you to limit the potential attackers' choices they can do in your infrastructure. And finally, the privilege escalation and abuse. Goal here is to limit the ability to gain and or misuse administrator privileges through the least privilege concept. Behavioral analytics and also the adaptive response from the security part of the CyberArk. Looking at privilege access management in this way gives us a valuable rule of thumb up to help us make decisions on when and where to engage moving forward, and always ask yourself, will this use case help credential theft, stop lateral and vertical movement, or limit privilege escalation and abuse? If the answer is no, then it may not be worth time. And this is where we as a Soitron group can offer really good services because we have a lot of experience with different implementations and different use cases of CyberArk. So we can really help you to get the job done and get your infrastructure secured very easily, very effortlessly. First off, CyberArk's customer base is unmatched in terms of breadth and depth of clients across many verticals, including the financial services, government, maybe technology, healthcare, manufacturing, and many more. And notably, many of these organizations are some of the largest, most strategic companies in the world. Working with these global organizations allowed CyberArk to build up a quite nice portfolio of use cases and experiences. And that's what makes the CyberArk very robust product that can really help you with achieving security in your organization. Now let me tell you something about the identities that we will be trying to protect. As you can see on this slide, currently, it doesn't matter if you are admin, maybe some DevOps, or maybe some third-party vendor. Basically, you need some identities to access your customer sites or sites that you work, different data centers, and so on. And this means specifically around privileged identities that many accounts can be privileged under certain conditions. Specifically, if until several years ago, mostly IT admins were considered as the privileged users, but in today's environment, almost any identity can be privileged under certain conditions, as I told before. This can be a developer, it can be DevOps, it can be some source code that needs to access pieces of information from your database that sits on-premise on your servers. So all these types of privileged access represent currently quite a high risk to your organization, and therefore they require a high level of security controls. And this is where CyberArk is very strong and can really help you secure your infrastructure. Privileged identities are now everywhere, and also the risk associated with it are something that we need to talk about and need to solve somehow. And this is how it works with CyberArk. Before diving in closer, it's important to remember that the end goal for any organization, regardless of tool or processes at their disposal, is the mitigating risk of, let's say, privilege escalation. No matter how we get there, that is the goal, and the way we have broken down different identities that may require like extra security from CyberArk are these three types. The first are system identities. The way to think about these are the built-in accounts. Let's say it's a root account on your Linux server, or it's some local administrator account on computer. Basically, these are some accounts that can't be rid of because you really need to have them on the server. You will need to use them under certain conditions. And you need to really take good care about the access to these accounts because they can perform highly privileged actions on the servers. Next thing are the applications identities. These types of identities open up application access management conversation that, depending on the use case, could have some relevance to just-in-time access, particularly when dynamic secrets are used by developers or throughout the DevOps pipeline. And finally, there are privileged identities. This is basically any access account that is created for a human user that is required to do the roles in your business. It could be basically, let's say, Windows administrator account that is created on top of the built-in administrator. Let's say it's account like ADM/Peter, which says it's Peter's admin account. This is really where CyberArk sees just-in-time access as being particularly of value, as these extra accounts need to be accounted for. And when using traditional PAM controls, this can create a widespread of what needs to be managed. So some organizations may be comfortable doing this while providing the necessary security and operational ease of use. However, given the businesses of just-in-time and some of the practical uses of implementing just-in-time controls, this is the area where we would want to evaluate how just-in-time could be of use. CyberArk does have something what's called unified approach to identity security. From anyone in the world, from any locations, users or some applications are going to be demanding access to your on-premise resources. And we won't be just humans, as I said, but also this can be a lot of automatical services like the RPA, like the DevOps that requires dynamic access to your resources. And this needs to be secured really great. Nowadays, this is quite a big problem because when you develop some application, it's very common that it's not really enough secure because of it needs to access your resources, and this often isn't done in a safely manner. Number of identities used to access these hugely varying systems has exploded in past years because of the ongoing automation and digital transformation of the businesses. This really brings with it an issue of privilege and entitlements, which will prove a burden to understand and manage. And these automated systems will continue to need secured access without impeding velocity. And the challenge here is to maintain and really a unified approach to the security and protecting all of these types of accesses throughout your organization. This is where CyberArk steps in and provides an effective solution to solve all of these issues. And the first issue and the traditional model is giving some sort of user access to your protected systems over the PAM service. Here we can see a traditional PAM model where CyberArk is brokening the access for any of the identities. Within CyberArk is the story we all know. We're monitoring and rotating the credentials and detecting attempts to exploit. This works, but because of the text on the right, we need to evaluate just in time to reduce standing admin rights and standing access where it's appropriate. The standing administrator rights are still there, in that the user is defined administrator and they have standing access rights to this account. Some organizations may push back on both of these concepts, particular, and instead to prefer to handle the user's access they need at the exact moment they need it. On this slide, you can actually see the main features of CyberArk PAM that stands in the middle, which are control, isolate, detect, restrict, and monitor sessions that are accessing anything inside your organizations. It doesn't matter if these resources are accessed by a remote user or it's by some automation scripts. The key idea is that you, as an organization, need to provide access to your resources for many different vendors, contractors, and by using CyberArk, you are getting the tool that gets the job done really well. Let's have a look at how this works in the real world. At first, I'm going to tell you something about the Application Identity Manager, or AIM. Let's first look at the before scenario without AIM. The common practice is when you're doing, let's say, some automation, you put some sort of credentials that need to connect, let's say, to some of your databases straight into the script that will perform some automatical actions. Or in better way, you can use some sort of protected credential file. When this happens, it's very hard for you as an owner of the enterprise resources to detect what's happening, when are these passwords used, and if they are misused. As the applications on the left side need to connect to system for processes on the right side, such as automated file transfers, web transactions, or vulnerability scans, they must first authenticate to those systems. And as I have said before, the current state is not very good. But with Application Identity Manager, you will put the PAM service in the middle between your non-accounts and enterprise resources, and we will get rid of the hard-coded credentials by using scripts that will ask PAM service for the credentials that we need, and we'll send them straight to the enterprise resource. The key of this, the best portion of this is that the non-human account, which is used somewhere in the script, doesn't really have the needs of saving its own password somewhere in the scripts like it was before. The only thing that it does, it will ask the PAM service like, hey, I want to get this password for this account, and the PAM service will think about, yeah, you are this application, let's say you are in the RPA, I know about you, you can get this password, but I'm not giving the password to you. I take this password and send it straight to the enterprise resource that this application needs to access. So the very strong part of this security is that this password never leaves your PAM service to the left side, it goes just to your enterprise resources. But AIM is not everything. Let's have a closer look to see how we can secure access of your workforce with CyberArk. The CyberArk pass solution secures, rotates, and tracks the use of privileged passwords and, let's say, SSH keys and API keys. Using this product, organizations can ensure that only authorized users are able to access privileged credentials used to log in into a variety of systems on premises or in the cloud and maybe in ICS environments. Using master policy, administrators can set credential length, strength, and rotation policies which user groups may access what credentials. So the common situation here is the old and unsecure way, where you let people access your resources as you see. So the user is in possession of a password to your enterprise resources, and basically he will use the password and get access to anything he needs to. In this way, there is no control over what happens to these credentials on the computer of your administrator or third-party vendor, which we consider is not quite secure. But after you implement CyberArk, this will be basically a past. What happens when we implement CyberArk is that we build up some sort of a secure vault, which will securely store all your enterprise resources access. So all the admin accounts, all the root accounts, API keys, stuff like this, everything will go straight into the vault. And now we can have a look how this works from user perspective after the CyberArk is implemented. The user gets access to the CyberArk web portal, where he can log in and he can find all the accounts that he has permissions to access. Those permissions are defined by maybe Active Directory groups or can be done also locally in the CyberArk. So, but the most common practice is to connect CyberArk to some server like Active Directory and use groups to set permissions. Well, on the website, the user can perform few actions, which you will see straight in the demo, but I'll just go over it very quickly. So he can see there the account, and when he clicks on that account, he has possibility to connect to specific enterprise resource, let's say server on the Windows machine, or he can connect to some SQL database or some network switch, which he needs to manage. So let me just do a quick sum up. Digital Vault is a secure storage for privileged accounts and its credentials. It supports strong authentication methods and very commonly known as as LDAP, Radius, RSA Secure ID, Duo, and SAML, and much more. From my experience, we often go with Radius authentication because it's very easily backed with multi-factor authentication. Basically, any Radius server that you can build up and use it with multi-factor authentication, it can be used also with CyberArk. The next feature is that it rotates and tracks the use of privileged passwords and SSH keys and API keys. It supports a variety of outbound systems, and we as the implementer of CyberArk work on supporting also the systems that are not supported out of box by CyberArk. And also the last part is that you can very nice audit everything what happens in your infrastructure, and it's definitely tamper-proof, so you can meet the compliance and give auditors some information they're looking for and stuff like this. And after the user choose some account he wants to use, that is done by logging to the web. He can also use his common tools to access your enterprise resource. Let's say he can connect through a remote desktop straight to a server over the PSM, and what happens on the background is that if I open up and put a session, let's say to some Linux server on the right side, in the reality, I will connect from my computer to CyberArk proxy server, which will handle the recording of the session, the auditing, and also he will handle carrying out the actions with the credentials. So actually, I, as a user, I don't really need to know the password to the target access. I never had it in my computer, but I can connect there and do everything good I need. A session, very important feature of this process is so-called session isolation. This means that everything what happens in the session doesn't happen on administrator's computer. So I really don't have to think about if the user's computer is malware free, if he has there some antivirus software or stuff like this, because he can only communicate with the CyberArk PSM server, which carries out the connection to the target resource and also audits the session. And this server is very well hardened and it's pretty safe, so it's very hard to do any hacking actions in the session. It's very hard to do hijacking. The CyberArk gets tested for this a lot. They have a penetration testing and stuff like this. So it's easily said that it's really like secure way to offer your administrators to access your enterprise resources. Almost the last part of the PAM solution is its analytics engine. CyberArk provides targeted detection of unusual or unwanted user behavior. Organizations need to leverage real-time, command-level intelligence on activity in privileged sessions, identifying unusual or suspicious behavior for individual users, which may indicate malicious activity. CorePass provides advanced PAM intelligence throughout targeted, promptly actionable threats, alerts for anomalous privileged user and account activity. There are basically 4 key aspects that this analytics engine does. The first one is collection. The solution focuses on collecting and analyzing the right data. This is quite important because maybe some of you know about the CM solutions where you can take a huge amount of logs and analyze them in your pretty expensive device that really needs all the logs and all the resources to do this. But CyberArk focuses especially for the activities that may have something to do with the privileged accounts. So you don't get there like common information like this user has logged into a machine or failed login or something like that. But it analyzes straight the actions that are happening during the administrator sessions. The second part of it is detection. CyberArk machine learning analytics engine conducts a combination of behavioral, statistical, deterministic, and used to identify anomalous activities that indicate compromise, adjusting over to reflect risk. Then, when CyberArk detects some anomalous activity, it can alert you when something like this happens. And alerts are assigned for a risk score, which is very good because for a security personnel, it's very easy to do a prioritization of the alerts so they can solve the really important one very soon, and those that are less risky, they can wait for some longer time. So all of these 3 aspects enables you to respond to any threats that happen to in your infrastructure during the CyberArk sessions very easily and quickly. Also, what is a good part of this, you can easily integrate this analytics engine with your existing CM solutions. And this works both ways because you can also send some specific logs from your CM solution to CyberArk to improve its analytics engine possibilities. So it can also analyze the logs that are not from the CyberArk, but from all over your infrastructure, and you can find some potential threats. Finally, integrating CyberArk session management and threat analytics capabilities is extremely useful for audit teams. Automatic risk scoring really helps to prioritize high-risk activities, as I said before. Auditors are told exactly where to look, and they can very fast identify and secure the threats. Workloads can be prioritized and deprioritized based on automatic score and optimize review times and auditing cycles. And lastly, users have the ability to terminate sessions during the live monitoring when a high-risk activity occurs. So this is what you're going to be seeing in a while in the demo. I think it's quite an interesting feature. So now I'm going to tell you something more about architecture. So if you want to achieve something like this, so you can see that all your users, it doesn't matter if these are some vendors or it's some office users or everyone who is accessing your enterprise resources. you will put this core privileged access security in between and let anyone to connect through the CyberArk. This gives you opportunities or the options to control, isolate, and secure remote access. And what it means from the perspective of your infrastructure, it looks something like this. Standard CyberArk deployment enables you to use all the features that we talked about since the beginning, and it looks basically like this. Please note that this is what I call a little bit paranoid setup, because it is a little bit too redundant. In most of cases, you will be needing just the primary site, which is basically the site 1 on the picture in the middle, and then the disaster recovery site or the site 2. Basically, you are okay to go with 2 sites, but depending on criticalness of your businesses, the solution can be very well built, so there is basically no downtime at all. There are 5 core components that you can see on the pictures, and I'll tell you basic of these components now. So the main component is the Vault. As I told you before, Vault is basically a Windows machine that is specially hardened and is recommended for it to sit on the hardware, so it's not virtualized. It can be, but that gives you a bigger attack surface in case of some potential threats. So we mostly go with the hardware for the vaults. And every saved credentials, the SSH keys, the API keys, everything confidential is stored just in the vault. None of other components have saved anything confidential on itself. Everything stays in the vault all the time. And the other components, they just talk to the vault and they take the credentials if they are supposed to. The second part of the system is PVWA. This is a common IIS Windows server, which is running the CyberArk website that is called Password Vault Web Access. The third one is the CPM component. The CPM component is running all the automatic credential rotation tasks, so it can connect to the target devices and automatically change password for any accounts that are there, and is a really good feature that we like to use because changing passwords for many accounts at once can be a big problem. But with this, it can be done basically in a minute. I can tell you something from my experience from the past days. We had a new client and we had to deploy the automatic password rotation because they had like maybe 500 different types of switches around their infrastructure. It's quite big. And they were really very afraid to let us to automatically change all the passwords on their devices. But we were able to show them in a few days how smoothly that works and how easily can they achieve the wanted goal, which is to have different password, different and very complicated password for every single network device in their infrastructure, and being able to rotate this password after each use of it, and if it's not used, then every month. The fourth component is the PSM. The PSM we've been talking about already too. Is the component that is supposed to allow users to connect to the target devices. And the last one is the PTA. That is the analytics engine that I've been talking to a few slides before. And this is a virtual appliance. It basically acts as a syslog server where it receives logs from the vault or from your CM solution to enrich the logs, and the analytics happens on this vault. Well, so deploying all of these components on 2 or more sites means that you have all you need to really secure all your privileged accounts using all the features that you have seen through my presentation. Well, it's easy to say. I think it's also easy to install, but what about discovering your privileged accounts? I really don't know if any one of you will be able to identify all privileged accounts in your environment. If you can't, please stay tuned for the next part of the presentation, which is called the discovery. CyberArk developed quite good tool that can help you with discovering all the privileged accounts that you have across your environment. It's called Discovery and Audit, DNA in short. And this tool is a simple thing that you can freely download and install on any machine in your domain, and it can help you to discover all the accounts that sit down on your computers. On Windows, Unix, Linux, and Mac machines, it requires no installation on the target machines. You will install it on just on one server from where you will run the scan. And it can help you to detect credentials also, hard-coded credentials in, let's say, WebSphere or Task Scheduler, or some scripts in the AI servers, or also in Ansible, which is a very nice feature. It can also detect the golden ticket attack, the SSH keys, and everything like that. So basically, it's really easy and fast way how to get an idea what accounts do I have in my organization, and what should I protect. This is a good way to begin. And also, it's a little bit newer feature, since the cloud is very popular, and it's also part of what we need to secure. They created the CyberArk tool, which works for Azure and AWS clouds, and it can scan cloud entities. It doesn't require any special access, only the read access, and it can successfully discover privileged users and shadow admins. This brings us to last part of my presentation, which is Soitron group expertise. If you're thinking about getting CyberArk to your company, then you may be wanting to have someone who can help you with the implementation. The Soitron group is a very good partner for implementing CyberArk for a few reasons. We are working with CyberArk since the year 2016. We have successfully secured at least 100,000 privileged accounts. Our customers, they have never suffered from credential theft after the CyberArk was implemented. And we can very successfully share our knowledge around the whole Europe, because we have some offices in Slovakia, in Czech Republic, in Turkey, in Romania. So there are a lot of places and a lot of people. They can help us with doing our job right. And it's not only about the CyberArk itself, because it's not enough to just install this product and use it. You also need to build up some processes. You need to set up the network correctly and stuff like that. So this is where we as a group feel really strong, because in our group there are maybe even hundreds of experts that know a lot about IT and can help us. And here you can see at least few of our customers last years, and we have been doing this job for them since maybe 2019. And also there are many other customers that wish to remain anonymous. So this is for our experience with CyberArk as Soitron group. This is the end of the presentation, and now it's time to see it all live. For a minute, I will stop the sharing, and I'll be back in a second with the lab. Yeah. So at first, I would like to show you how does the CyberArk web looks like and how a user is supposed to work in there. I'm sharing from a quite big screen, so if you don't see the text big enough, please let me know so I can make it larger. But as first, as you land in on the CyberArk web, you can see that it asks you for your LDAP credentials. It's because it's already configured to work with Active Directory in my lab. So I just hit the sign in button, and the first site that I see are the accounts that I have access to. these are some accounts that we have onboarded for the purposes to be used in the lab, and I can connect them from more specific ways. The first way how to connect to some account. Let's say this is some common Active Directory account, which is my personal account in the lab, and I can connect with it to different assets. Let's say I would try to connect to an RDP to some domain machine, which is let's say this one. I'll hit the connect button, I'll wait a few seconds, and now it will download me an RDP file, which I open right now. I'm going to share out also the remote desktop for you to see how does it look. So now you see a black screen that says I'm being recorded, and I'm really connecting to the PC that I typed the name in. What happened in reality is that I have made a connection from my computer to the CyberArk PSM server. That's the component that is supposed to record the sessions and do stuff like this. So I don't have the direct connectivity to the PC 486, as you can see here, but I have the connectivity only to the PSM server, and this component makes the session happen. And as soon as I'm here, let's do something. I will open Regedit, let's say. And so this is how I can connect and do something on the server. But the strong part of the CyberArk is also the security. I can show you how we can monitor this session. So on the website, I will jump into the monitoring part, and this is the place where I can see the active sessions that are happening currently through the CyberArk, and also they have some risk score assigned. So this is the session. This one with the score 65 is the session that you are looking at now. Yeah, and if I open it up, it has already a risk score of 65. And this is something worthy of investigation. The first thing you see, the strongest impact event that has given this score this 65 risk score, it's because I was running the registry editor. So here I can really see that maybe there is something bad going on. If I don't like this, if I'm an auditor and I'm supposed to watch over the servers, I don't like these actions, I can suspend the session. So as you can see now, I cannot click anywhere. There is just the notification that my session has been suspended and it's inactive. I can just see it, but I can't do anything else with it. Let's say then I want to resume and let the people work again. So I'll just hit the resume button, and well, it works again. I can click into and I can close the Regedit and do anything. Yeah. And the second, the last thing that I can do with this session is to terminate it, because I'm seeing here some really disturbing stuff happening and I want to end it right away. So I just hit the terminate button. This works a little bit different because I have to open an RDP file for it to happen, but it will happen really fast. Let's have a look. So we just open up an RDP connections. The second one is already closed, and this is just a notification from the CyberArk that this session was terminated. Yeah, and as soon as it's terminated, I will hit just the refresh button, and it's gone from the active sessions section. Now we will move to the recording session, and here you can see all the recordings that happened in the past using my assets. So you will see here just one username because it's lab environment. And if you want to see what happened in this session, you just hit the play button and wait a minute. And in a very short time, you will be seeing desktop. Because of the screen size, I won't see the whole, but it's there and it's a whole. You can download the video and open up in the video editor and something like that to see it better. But basically, it's exactly the same things that, as you have seen in the live session. So upon closing this, so this is how does the security work. And let's say we want to do some better configuration of the security. I want to have some new alarm. It's quite simple. We have two sections on the web, which is called security events and the security configurations. Well, on the security events is a sum up of all events that happened during the last day. And I can see here some activity. This is the first session that we have been doing today, and that has this 65 score because I was running registry editor. There are some older sessions which I've been running maybe a day ago or something like that, or today in the morning, where I was connected to some specific account on the Linux server, and I executed 3 activities that were suspicious, and also they were denied. And that is also one feature that I will show you in a moment. And the configuration looks like this. It's quite simple. Let's say I'm connecting to a Linux server, and I run the change ownership command, which you can see here. This rule says that everyone who uses the change owner command in his session will be given a risk score of 50, and there is some response we can configure for this session. So it doesn't make sense to make it right now, but if I would have wanted, I can automatically terminate session that uses that starts some specific command right away. It should work like this, or maybe we can use the terminate. I will try to show you later how does it work. And if you want to add some new rule, you have some categories, which is universal keystrokes. That means anything that is typed on the keyboard during the PSM session is recorded, and the security configuration can react upon this thing. And also you can do some specific for the SCP commands and for the Windows titles. So when anybody opens some Windows applications, you can get notified that it has been opened. So it's quite simple to have this setup. The CyberArk comes with a large number of rules that are there out of box, and it's quite easy to create the new rules that you can get tailored according to your needs. And let me show you one more thing, because if you work as an administrator, you can see that this way of connecting to assets, it's quite good, but it's not such comfortable as it could have been. Because imagine if you have to, every day you have to connect to this website, and you will need to download some sort of shortcuts to your computer, opening them, and this is way how it works, but it's not such comfortable. For this, we have this different solution, because you don't need to actually go to the website to be able to connect to these assets. Let me share one more application, and I will demonstrate how this can work on a different way. You should see now on my screen one application. I think it's possible that it's a little bit small for you to read, but it's not so important to see the text. But if you want, you can zoom it out, zoom it in your WebEx. But the most, let me explain. This application is called Remote Desktop Manager. It's a common application that can manage your connections to Linux servers, to SSH servers, websites. It can store your password. So it's basically something similar like Secure CRT or a Remote Desktop Manager that's made by Microsoft. It's very similar. And how it works, if I want to connect to some asset, let's say I'm going to a Windows server, I'll just double click, I just clicked open session, and it will run an RDP connection to my assets, to this computer. Well, but this one goes straight from my computer over RDP to this computer that you are seeing. I can close it up now. And if I want to connect through the CyberArk to this asset, it's almost the same. If I show you the RDP, this is the RDP file. Maybe you know. I think administrators know how does this work. You just hit here the address of the PSM server, which is the CyberArk PSM component, and then I put there my own domain credentials and my personal password in the lab. Then I went to the programs tab, which is something that you have also in the older Microsoft Windows RDP client. And basically this line says I will be connecting as user, as this domain user, to an asset with IP address 10.16.17.3 over the RDP. Yeah. So It's as simple as that. I have made up a permanent shortcut that will open up a session through CyberArk to a target asset without having to go and have a look to the website and downloading any type of shortcuts. It takes a little bit longer until I'm connected to this asset. As you can see, there is notification that the session is being recorded. And in a very short time, I'm already on the server, and I can also have a look at the session in the monitoring, so you can see it's the real CyberArk session. Sorry, it's here. So in the active sessions, you can see there is this user connected on this machine. It has no risk score because nothing happened yet. So that's all. And now I will disconnect, and I would like to demonstrate one more feature that I like about CyberArk. Despite of PSM server, there is one more component that we can optionally use to enable some extra features. In a minute, I will share different thing. Let's imagine that you have two machines. One of them sits in your DMZ, and because it's maybe some website or something like that, and the other one sits down in your LAN. And often you need to have at least some connectivity between these two servers to perform some actions. And this is where the CyberArk steps in and can give you a strong help. And I'll show you how. You should now see my terminal, which is like pretty basic macOS application, and I will try to open up some sort of a tunnel. It works like this. I enter the SSH command because I want to connect through the SSH to some machine. This is my Active Directory username. The second one is the username that I have prepared for this use case, because it's the user that will open up a tunnel between the LAN server and the DMZ server in between. And this is the address of the server that will be doing this tunnel for me. And I will connect to it over the PSMS. As you have maybe noticed, there are two components. One is the PSM, which is the Windows machine that always opens up an RDP connection to my target device. And there is the PSMS is a Linux machine, which acts as basically as the SSH proxy. That's also supported by CyberArk and can connect you to target devices in the Linux, which is very good because you can use the very common tools like Buddy or basically any open SSH client to connect over CyberArk to targets. I'm using the SSH key authentication now, so I'm not being asked for the password, which is also some feature that is supported. And in this case, as you can see in this banner, I have connected to a server which will open up a tunnel for me. I can run a few commands. It says I can run the command open tunnel to open port 445, which is the port for file sharing on the Windows. On the IP 16773, which is a Windows machine, and it will enable this port on machine 16774 at local port 8080. So let me connect to this machine with IP .4. All right, so now I'm connected at the Linux machine, and I will try to have a look at the file share. As you can see, currently the connection on my local host port 8080 is closed. And now I'll try to open the tunnel. I'm running just this script because I don't have any possibility to run any other command on this server. I will show you also in the web how does it work. And now, if I run the same command from the other machine, now you can see it's connected. So if I press this command, I can see there is some file which is called file on Windows file share, which in reality is the file from this server. Basically, you are looking at the very common SSH tunnel, which is nothing special about. However, let's have a look at this. I will try to run different command, which is not listed in this section. So I'll try the ls command. I'm sorry, this is supposed to work a little bit different, and there is perhaps something bad configured. But as soon as I close the tunnel, you can see that I cannot repeat the connection. Yeah. So I try to put there some different command now, and it says I'm not authorized to use this command. As it was, as you can see here, I can use only these 4 commands. So now I log out, and we'll have a last look how it works, and that will be basically everything for today's presentation, and then we move to the Q&A. I will share once again the website, and I will stop this terminal. Well, and now we have another look into the PTA and the security event section. When I refresh the site, you can see that there were typed a few commands that were denied. So this is how I know that the user on the server was trying to execute some commands that he's not supposed to use. And how is this done? It's a quite easy setup. As you have noticed, I have used the tunnel1 account for this connection. And when I step into details of this account, there is a quite simple section where I can define what type of commands it can use. So in this section, I can very easily add commands that can be used by this account when connecting to anywhere through the CyberArk. So this is the very nice feature. I think it's very useful for you, and it's called command and access control. And also, this is the last feature I wanted to show you during my demo. So currently, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and now is the time for you to have some questions if you have some. Well,
actually, there are actually two questions from somebody. If you can read them.
Yeah, I can see them now. Thanks. Just a moment. So the first question is, can CyberArk integrate with CM monitoring tools and provide alerts based on some predefined scenarios? Can be useful for SOC teams. Well, the answer is yes. CyberArk can very easily integrate with CM solutions and monitoring tools out of box. It supports, for example, a QRadar and the ARC site. But basically, it can support any CM solution that receives the syslog messages, which is very common. And it's right, it's very useful for the SOC teams. And as we have seen in the demo, in the security sections on the website, the alerts that we have seen, these can be very easily forwarded to your CM monitoring tool. So yeah, the answer is yes. And the second question was, is it possible to create sort of application groups in CyberArk web portal so that an admin can easily find the resources he or she is required to connect and not an entire list to scroll into? Well, it works that way. The user sees only those resources he has permissions to. So he doesn't see all. He will see only a portion of it. But and it's also possible to create the groups, but to be honest, the searching through the web is sometimes a little bit of a struggle. But the easiest way is to find the asset by name using the search panel, which is above the accounts. So that's the most easy way. But as I have showed you, the remote desktop manager, where I can create the shortcuts to any assets, I think that's the best way to go for the day-to-day using of CyberArk too. So you create your own shortcuts in some sort of your connection management, and you use it this way. That's the most comfortable, and it saves you to being the need for searching something on the web.
Thank you, Michael. So if there are any other question, now is the moment to write it down. We'll wait just 1 minute. Okay, somebody wants.
Also, if you send us your questions by email, we can answer you later. It's not a problem, definitely.
This is what I was actually wanted to show you. Okay, I think this is it. I think there are not any other questions. If so, as Michael said, if you have any question regarding CyberArk solution, please don't hesitate to contact us via email on this sales@datanet.ro. On other hand, I wanted to thank you once again for your participation to our webinar and for your time. I hope the information that Michael offered today is useful for you. From Datanet team side, I wish you a great day. And Michael, thank you very much for your presentation. And for
thank you everyone for having me, and I'll be happy to see you again. And perhaps we'll talk some deep dive into the CyberArk, because it's a quite broad theme which cannot be fit into 1 hour, but we can help you with that if you are interested.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a nice day to all. Bye bye.
Thank you everyone. Bye bye.